Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the Chinese foreign ministers in Manila as the annual meetings of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations get underway. The new British Prime Minister has unveiled his new cabinet and is promising the biggest changes in the last 40 years. And China's transport network, the largest in the world, now exceeds 6 million kilometers. In business, China's latest plan for modernizing its transportation system. In sports, Spain's World Cup teams received a hero's welcome on home soil. In culture and entertainment, a Chinese animated feature is set for a wider international release. Now checking the day's top stories. Foreign ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations have begun their annual meetings in Manila. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is also in the city for some of the meetings. Ryan Meltzer has more from Manila.
Morning began with the ASEAN foreign ministers meeting, their plenary session, and the Philippines foreign minister in her opening remarks said that ASEAN is facing an unpredictable world, an unstable world order in which it was all the more important for countries to band together in blocs such as ASEAN. Now, aside from the main ASEAN foreign ministers meeting over the course of the next 2 days, there will also be the ASEAN Plus meetings. And what ASEAN does well, of course, is to convene these countries and bring them together, countries that often don't see eye to eye or are at loggerheads with one another, even right at this very moment. These ASEAN meetings are very good for, aside from tackling the regional issues such as the conflict that we saw last year between Cambodia and Thailand, the perennial issue of Myanmar, of course, and issues of concerns over the impact of the war in Iran. ASEAN brings together these countries to have dialogue on the sidelines.
That was Ryan Meltzer reporting. A public opinion survey in China indicates favorable views of deepening cooperation between China and Southeast Asian nations. In a survey of over 1,800 people across China, 45% expressed a very favorable or favorable view of the ASEAN group. 66% of respondents said outcomes of China-ASEAN cooperation in recent years have been highly effective or relatively effective. On the state of China-ASEAN ties, nearly half of the respondents considered them good, while 31% were neutral. Looking ahead, about half of the respondents expressed optimism about the future of China-ASEAN ties, while 28% expected relations to remain stable. 2026 marks 35 years of dialogue between China and ASEAN and the launch of their comprehensive action plan. ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Horn shared his vision for deeper regional cooperation.
This is a very important year for both sides, ASEAN and China, with the establishment of this alliance of diverse institutions, particularly the Education Alliance, in the field of law. I think it's important, particularly as we work to transform what's in the plan of action to implement the CSP is to concretize that and to make it tangible. It's clearly that we've been doing a lot of cooperation in the area of trade, also investment, tourism, connectivity, among others. So what we need now, of course, is to make sure that our trade will not be affected by transnational crimes. And what's important is that we need to enhance our cooperation in the legal sector. This alliance of schools and universities working together side by side is to, on the one hand, of course, to increase capacity, training. At the same time, to promote a better understanding of the legal cooperation. And I think that's where our law enforcement sector will have to do a lot more together.
That was ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Horn. And for more on China-ASEAN ties, Pan Dung spoke to Du Lan, Associate Research Fellow of the Department for Asia-Pacific Studies at the China Institute of International Studies.
A survey shows that the majority of Chinese public favor cooperation between China and ASEAN. How should we read into this public opinion?
I think the survey provides an important insight into how Chinese people view ASEAN-China relations. Overall, it shows that the relations enjoys a strong public foundation in China, with people recognizing the tangible benefits brought by decades of cooperation. The high level of positive assessments of cooperation projects demonstrates that economic infrastructure and people-to-people exchanges have increasingly translated into public support and mutual understanding. The survey also shows that ordinary people place a great emphasis on practical cooperation rather than geopolitical competition. In recent years, China and ASEAN have made significant progress in both economic and social cooperation. Economically, the two sides have become increasingly interconnected through trade, investment, and regional supply chains. People-to-people ties have also recovered and expanded rapidly after the pandemic. Tourism, student exchanges, cultural programs have also brought society closer and strengthened the mutual understanding. So looking ahead, there is still great potential for deeper bilateral cooperation. China and ASEAN can further enhance digital connectivity, green transformation, supply chain resilience, and innovation cooperation. At the same time, expanding youth exchanges, education, tourism, and community-level cooperation will be also essential to building a stronger people-to-people bonds. So the future of China-ASEAN relations will expand not only on economic things, but also on greater mutual trust and shared development among their peoples.
That was Du Lan at the China Institute of International Studies. China and Thailand have agreed to work together for more results over the next 50 years while building a bilateral community with a shared and prosperous future. The document came as the Thai Prime Minister wrapped up his official visit in China. Both sides highlighted the importance of upholding multilateralism based on international law. They pledged to safeguard supply chains, enhance collaboration in science, technology, and innovation, and strengthen digitalization to facilitate customs and trade. They also expect more people-to-people exchanges and stronger cooperation in various fields. Thailand is strengthening cooperation with Chinese partners to adapt to shifting travel preferences, as Chinese visitors increasingly seek personalized and experience-driven trips. The Tourism Authority of Thailand has recently signed deals with 5 companies spanning travel agencies, digital navigation, and consumer goods. Thailand's welcomed 2.8 million Chinese visitors this year, up 14%. An official says travelers now choose destinations based on lifestyle and interests and not just famous sites. The authority is also promoting secondary destinations and launching a wellness-focused campaign to attract more Chinese tourists. And people in Thailand are eagerly embracing artificial intelligence, seeing opportunities in healthcare, education, agriculture, transport, and elderly care. Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul recently attended the World AI Conference in Shanghai, where global cooperation was a key theme. Bangkok residents voiced strong support for deeper AI collaboration, with many already using tools like ChatGPT and Gemini in daily life. A company employee, Kanam Ko, is one of them.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'd like artificial intelligence to have a big impact on healthcare and education.
People said AI could reduce inequality, improve farming, cut waiting times at hospitals, and help protect elderly citizens from online fraud. They also stressed the need for wider public education on AI safety and responsible use. Coming up, the new UK Prime Minister has unveiled his cabinet.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
At 10 minutes past the hour, British Prime Minister Andy Burnham has formed a new cabinet, appointing former Defence Secretary John Healey as Chancellor of the Exchequer. Ed Miliband is the new Foreign Secretary, while Shabana Mahmood remains Home Secretary. Burnham took office on Monday, becoming the 7th British Prime Minister since 2016. He succeeds Keir Starmer, who held the post for 2 years. In his inaugural speech outside 10 Downing Street, Burnham pledged to deliver the biggest changes in the last 40 years and introduce a new political model and a new economic model. Jeff Moody reports from London.
It's a few short steps from the front door of number 10 to the podium. But however many friends line the route, sometimes they're the loneliest steps of all.
My work is done.
The eyes of the world are on this little street in London. The world's news hounds packed into pens and waiting for the kill, for the emotion to show. In the end, though, a speech shot through with good grace.
And I thank the British people for the opportunity to serve. I go with good grace, I go with a smile, and I go proud of everything that we have achieved. Thank you very much.
It's a bruising ending. It always is. But the Prime Minister has one more job still to do while he still is the Prime Minister. One more appointment still to keep. And it's the most important appointment of them all.
It's a short ride from Downing Street to Buckingham Palace. Starmer's last in his ministerial car. But today, the Prime Minister is here for one reason only: to resign. Enter Andy Burnham, arriving at the palace to accept the King's invitation to form a government in an ancient tradition called the kissing of the hands. Back at Downing Street, the mood changes, excitement as the country's new leader approaches.
And here he is, Andy Burnham, Britain's 7th Prime Minister in a decade.
Britain needs to show the world that we can regain our stability once again, and that is our challenge: to make politics work, to make it work better.
And so begins another fresh start for a country that's weary of starting afresh. The electorate is impatient, it wants change, and if Burnham wants to avoid that lonely walk, he'll have to deliver fast.
That was Jeff Moody in London. A Foreign Ministry spokesperson says China's policy stance on developing China-Britain relations has always been consistent. Lin Jian said developing a long-term and stable, comprehensive strategic partnership meets the fundamental interests of both countries and their people. The spokesperson says this will also contribute to world peace, stability, and prosperity. Lin said China is willing to work with Britain on the basis of mutual respect and handling differences properly to enhance exchanges and cooperation and ensure that bilateral relations move in the right direction. Britain ushered in a new prime minister and cabinet on Monday as Labour leader Andy Burnham took office and named his top team, pledging sweeping political and economic changes. Economic and political strategist Inaki Martinez Soria says the new British Prime Minister faces a high-stakes test as mounting pressures on the economy demand swift and decisive action.
When you look at the dashboard across the entire of the British economy, you have that very dimly lit green light concerning growth, which is positive, but that growth is only positive on paper. When you start to dig a little bit down, you find a lot of issues and a lot of problems around the entirety of the British economy. For example, unemployment, 4.9%, that's 1.7 million people unemployed, an upward correction of 124,000 more people than last year. Wow. The economically inactive population has reached 9.14 million in the last year as well. Inflation 2.8% when it had a target of 2%, and the fiscal position is further weakening. We're talking about a debt that represents 95.1% of the GDP, the worst it has been since the 1960s. And on top of that, we're talking about a country that is severely exposed and vulnerable in terms of the volatility of the world, right, because it's a net energy importer. So there's this political turbulence comes across an already very delicate economic situation, and the new prime minister will have to be able to ride and surf all these challenges and confronting a severely short blanket problem.
That was economic and political strategist Inaki Martinez Soria. The UK's had 7 prime ministers in 10 years, including 5 from the Conservative Party. New Prime Minister Andy Burnham and his predecessor Keir Starmer are from Labour. Lee Jianhua has more on what this means for ordinary people.
The country requires fresh leadership.
I will shortly leave the job that it has been the honour of my life to hold.
In politics, no one is remotely indispensable.
I am resigning.
I will shortly be seeing His Majesty the King to offer my resignation as Prime Minister.
I will resign as leader of the Labour Party.
In the past 10 years, 6 prime ministers have moved in and out of number 10. Politics in Britain can move remarkably quickly. And interestingly, my real exchange with the country's politics all started with an exchange rate. Well, imagine this is 3 years ago. Months before moving to Britain, I walked into a bank in Beijing to exchange some yuan for pounds. Well, the timing turned out to be fortunate for me. British pound slumped because of Liz Truss's mini budget, a package of unfunded tax cuts and increased government borrowing, and suddenly my savings stretched a little. In some sense, her policy benefited me even before I landed, but that also led to her downfall just 49 days in office, the shortest serving Prime Minister ever. By the time I arrived in London, the Prime Minister was already Rishi Sunak. For the new Prime Minister, the problems the country faced remain the same. Well, the biggest thing I noticed wasn't number 10 back then. It was the cost of living, the prices of food, electricity, and gas. And very interestingly, Tesco grapes have become my personal inflation index. 3 years ago, I remember they were only £2.20, and now they are £3. Inflation was over 10% when I first arrived. One of Rishi Sunak's priorities was to lower inflation to the target of 2%. He achieved it in May 2024, but the prices kept growing, just slightly more slowly. Many households were still feeling the squeeze. Sunak's other priorities included grow the economy, reduce the NHS waiting lists, stop the boats, and cut the debt, the same challenges his predecessors hoped to overcome. Chief among them, a defining issue for him was immigration. Sunak made the Rwanda plan the main strategy to curb illegal immigration. Around £700 million was spent, but before it was scrapped, only 4 volunteers were sent to Rwanda. Then in July 2024, voters made another choice. Labour and Keir Starmer roared back with a landslide victory after 14 years. But again, the same problems were just passed on to the next Prime Minister, and voters were expecting effective solutions. Where Starmer promised stability after years of political turmoil, growth to improve living standards and reset relations with international partners. To fund higher spending on public services, the government unveiled £40 billion of tax rises, the biggest tax-raising budget in more than 30 years. Keir Starmer also visited China in January this year to reset ties with the world's second-largest economy, becoming the first Prime Minister to visit China in 8 years. The UK's economy did grow, but only modestly. Less than 2 years after winning a landslide general election, voters gave Starmer a stark warning. It's not only the economy, but immigration and public services, including the NHS and social care. Voters didn't feel the change they expected. Labour suffered heavy losses in this year's local elections, so did support for Starmer. Now the same problems are passed on again to the next Prime Minister. Looking back, changing Prime Ministers is only part of the story. Over the past decade, Britain has navigated Brexit, a pandemic, conflict in Europe, an energy crisis, high inflation and mounting pressure on public services. Every Prime Minister has inherited many of the same long-term challenges. Britain's political system may make it easier to change leaders, a reflection of voters demanding results, not promises. But can a revolving door at number 10 really solve long-term problems that have been building for years? In the space of 3 years, I've seen prime ministers come and go, but perhaps no one has seen more political change than Larry the Cat, Downing Street's chief mouser, preparing to greet another one.
That was Li Jianhua in London. Coming up, China's transport network now exceeds 6 million kilometers.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
Now 20 past the hour. Officials say China's built the largest transport system in the world. The network has exceeded 6 million kilometers over the past 5 years, with fixed asset investment reaching $2.8 trillion US. Passenger traffic has also surged, with high-speed rail trips up over 130%, and civil aviation passenger volume up 84%. Maritime and express shipments continue to lead global rankings. Vice Transport Minister Xu Changguang unveiled the goals for building a transport powerhouse over the next 5 years.
We're working to improve transport safety and resilience, build a unified and open transport market, integrate AI into the sector, scale up new energy-heavy trucks, and develop zero-carbon freight corridors. By 2030, we expect to make decisive progress toward building a modern, fully integrated transport system.
China's expressway mileage has expanded to nearly 200,000 kilometers over the past 5 years. The operating high-speed railway now exceeds 50,000 kilometers. China now accounts for over half of the world's humanoid robot models, with more than 400 complete units developed. According to the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, Chinese-made quadruped robots also dominate globally, capturing nearly 70% of sales. In Zhejiang province, robot exports surpassed 1 billion yuan in the first half, with intelligent bionic robots making up 60% of the national total. With steady industrial growth and expanding foreign investment in telecom, experts say China's high-tech sector is becoming a key economic driver. Hainan has the most concentrated, best preserved, and largest tropical rainforest in China. Local authorities in the southern province have achieved success in rainforest management systems, ecological conservation and restoration, and community engagement. Lin Hua has a story.
At the Nanyao and Fengling areas in Dongfang City, Hainan Province, Hainan's else deer, a national first-class key protected wild animal, can be seen galloping and foraging. In 2023, Hainan launched an ex-situ conservation program. Researchers screened 30 else deer and relocated them to the Nanyao and Fengling conservation areas, where an emergency rescue mechanism was established. As of June this year, the latest monitoring data shows that the population of Hainan else deer has exceeded 50.
In 2024, 12 forms were born, and in 2025, 13 were born. The reproductive rate is fairly good. We provided more appropriate habitats for else deer by restoring and renovating their habitats, and they now have more food sources available.
The Bawangling area is the core zone of the Hainan Tropical Rainforest National Park, rich in wildlife resources and the only natural habitat of the globally critically endangered Hainan gibbon. Through sustained scientific conservation efforts, the gibbon's habitat range in the Bawangling area has continued to expand, with the population growing to 7 groups, totaling 44 individuals, making it a global success story of gibbon conservation.
We are building a rainforest plus integrated industrial system, leveraging the core IP of the Hainan gibbon to jointly develop nature education, research-based learning and study tools, and other business models. We are also making more of the stories of the gibbon population recovery and the generations of bee and meow forest protectors.
Since the establishment of the Hainan Tropical Rainforest National Park, Li ethnic villages deep in a rainforest, such as Jiaxi village, have benefited from the region's high-quality ecological resources. Living conditions have continued to improve, distinct eco-industries have developed steadily, and the lives of local villagers have become increasingly prosperous. The local people have taken on the role of the guardians of the rainforest's resources and the protectors of its wildlife.
That was Linbaugh reporting. China has donated more than 3,000 metric tons of wheat and rice to South Sudan to help communities hit by recurring floods, droughts, and conflict. South Sudan's humanitarian affairs minister said the aid comes at a critical time, as over 1 million people are affected by climate disasters each year. And the crisis in neighboring Sudan has pushed more than 1.4 million refugees into the country. Chinese ambassador Ma Qiang said the donation is part of a broader cooperation commitment. Officials say the food will support returnees, displaced persons, and vulnerable households across the nation. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan has thanked Chinese enterprises for their contribution to the country's development. Hassan was speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the sixth section of the Standard Gauge Railway project. The 450-kilometer line will connect Tabora and Kigoma. Hassan said the railway will shorten travel times, cut transport costs, and create jobs, while boosting trade and regional integration. The transport minister added that the expansion is part of a broader strategy to position the country as a competitive logistics hub. Chinese officials say the project will drive agriculture, trade, and tourism along the route. U.S. military has ended its 10th night of strikes against Iran. U.S. Central Command says its aim is to prevent Iran from attacking more commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Over the weekend, 2 U.S. military personnel were killed in Jordan, another in Iraq. President Donald Trump says Iran will pay for killing U.S. soldiers. Walter Morris reports from Washington, D.C.
This was one of the deadliest weekends for U.S. troops since the war with Iran began in February. And Monday, U.S. Central Command began another round of strikes, marking the 10th straight night of attacks. Senior military officials wrote on X, quote, "Today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. forces began a new round of strikes against Iran at the Commander-in-Chief's direction. The strikes are designed to further degrade Iranian military capabilities used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. The latest attacks come after CENTCOM says U.S. forces successfully targeted Iranian military command centers, air defense and coastal surveillance facilities, and missile and drone launch sites Sunday. According to a statement released by the Pentagon, the U.S. military is holding Iran accountable. Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social, quote, "Every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over." This directive has been passed on to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Daniel Kaine, and every leader in the military. And we're learning more about the American service members who died. The Pentagon says 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez and 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler Fian were killed Friday in an airstrike on a U.S. base in Jordan. They marked the first American deaths from Iranian attacks since March. Military officials say a third service member was killed over the weekend in northern Iraq. And as the investigation into their deaths continues, more warplanes are on the way. The U.S. is sending more military aircraft to the Middle East as the war intensifies with Iran. The Pentagon is relocating F-16 and F-35 fighter jets to Israel from bases in Europe, according to senior military officials. And despite the increased military presence in the region, the Trump administration says diplomacy is still possible.
Door opens, we'll be happy to see it open. They continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate. But their behavior is what we're responding to. And their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships.
The White House says Trump will attend the dignified transfer for the U.S. service members at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. 17 members of the U.S. military have died since the war started in February.
That was Walter Morris reporting. The top UN envoy in Haiti is calling for sustained momentum in the country's political transition as security and humanitarian challenges persist. Carlos Ruiz Massot told the Security Council that recent achievements, including a revised electoral decree and the launch of voter registration, provide a basis for progress.
Haiti continued to face persistent insecurity, acute humanitarian needs, and institutional challenges, with devastating consequences for its population. Yet, recent developments demonstrate that there still remains an opportunity to move the political transition forward, begin reversing the threat posed by gangs, and restore democratic governance.
Well, he's urged Haitian institutions to adopt a credible electoral calendar. Meanwhile, the multinational gang suppression force has begun operations, destroying barricades and conducting patrols. The force's chief said institutional foundations are in place and forward operations have started, but warned that interrupted momentum could undo any gains. We're at 29 past the hour. Beijing, thunder showers overnight and again tomorrow. A low of 24 and it's up to 30 on Wednesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall through tomorrow. A low of 27 and a high of 34. Chongqing gets clear skies overnight and sunshine tomorrow. Low of 28 and a high of 40. Nanchang will see thunder showers through tomorrow with a low of 25 and a high of 33. Les is getting a light rainfall tonight, becoming showers on Wednesday. A low of 12, a high of 23. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see moderate rainfall tonight, easing to light tomorrow. The low is 23 and it's up to 28 on Wednesday. Time for a short break. So far this hour, Chinese foreign ministers in Manila as the annual meetings of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations get underway. The new British Prime Minister has unveiled his new cabinet and is promising the biggest changes in the past 40 years. And China's transport network, the largest in the world, now exceeds 6 million kilometers. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
The transition to a greener future is no longer a distant goal. It's happening now. In power plants, factories, farms, and cities across China. As the world grapples with climate change, energy security, and the growing demand for electricity, China is searching for new ways to cut emissions while keeping its economy moving. Across the country, our reporters visit renewable energy hubs, industrial centers, and agricultural communities to see what that transformation looks like in practice. Through first-hand stories and on-the-ground reporting, we explore the opportunities, the challenges, and the ideas shaping China's green transition. Listen to China's Green Code, Rewriting the Rules of Growth, a special series from Climate Watch, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday. Still to come. In business, China's latest plan for modernizing its transportation system. In sports, Spain's World Cup teams has received a hero's welcome on home soil. In culture and entertainment, a Chinese animated feature is set for a wider international release. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTN Radio. You're also welcome to subscribe to our Substack newsletter Beyond Beijing for the world's biggest stories, along with sharp insights and exclusive analysis. But now check of the day's headlines. Beijing's reaffirmed its three-point principled position on the provisional arrangement with Manila for the humanitarian resupply of living necessities to a Chinese reef in the South China Sea. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian says China's stance remains unchanged, urging the Philippines to honor its commitments.
关于菲律宾非法坐滩军舰人员粗暴干涉中国海警正常执法。
First, the Philippines has been violating China's sovereignty and the declaration on the conduct of parties in the South China Sea by keeping its warship grounded at Renai Jiao for decades. China continues to demand that the Philippines tow away the warship and restore Renai Jiao to its original state of being uninhabited and without any facilities. Second, between now and when the warship is towed away, should the Philippines need to send living necessities, China is willing to allow it in a humanitarian spirit, provided that the Philippines informs China in advance and on-site verification is conducted. China will monitor the entire process. Third, if the Philippines attempts to build fixed facilities or a permanent outpost, China will absolutely not accept it and will resolutely stop it in accordance with the laws and regulations.
The ministry summoned the Philippine ambassador to China on Tuesday over what it says were deliberate provocations by the Philippine side at the reef. 2 rubber boats from a grounded Philippine ship rammed a China Coast Guard patrol boat, which was conducting routine patrols on Monday. The Philippine side also struck Chinese law enforcement officers with tools, posing a threat to their safety. The Coast Guard said it exercised maximum restraint and acted in accordance with laws and regulations to stabilize the situation. Beijing says the Philippine side distorted facts and made false accusations against China after the incident. It urged the Philippines to stop infringements, provocations, and groundless hype. It also said the patrols in the area are fully lawful and legitimate, and China will continue to safeguard its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with a candidate for the next UN Secretary General. Caroline Rodriguez Burkett is also Guyana's permanent representative to the UN. Wang highlighted the challenges to multilateralism in the international system with the UN at its core. He says all parties look forward to the next Secretary General leading the organization in addressing difficulties and playing its role in building peace and development. Rodriguez Burkett announced her vision for the UN. She reaffirmed her adherence to the One China principle and expressed appreciation for China's 4 major global initiatives and the establishment of the World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization. The U.S. will impose a 50% tariff on certain Canadian goods from August 19th in retaliation for what Washington calls unfair trade practices. On Monday, President Donald Trump signed a tariff order targeting Canadian dairy products, alcoholic beverages, motor vehicles, and related goods. Energy products, potash, fish, and critical minerals are exempt. Trump claims Canada's 25% auto tariff and provincial alcohol bans have led to a sharp decrease in U.S. vehicle and beverage exports since 2024. The tariff order comes weeks after Washington chose not to renew the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. The office of Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada is ready to address its trade disputes with the U.S. Greece has recorded its first heat wave of the summer, with neighboring North Macedonia also experiencing intense heat. On Monday, 2 dozen weather stations across Greece recorded temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities have advised people to stay indoors during peak hours and have opened air-conditioned public centers. The fire brigade has also warned of an increased wildfire risk. In North Macedonia, temperatures have reached 39 degrees Celsius. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China's latest plan for modernizing its transportation system.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
36 past the hour. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed higher on Tuesday. The Shanghai Composite was up almost 1.8%. The Shenzhen Component surged more than 4.8%. Semiconductor and telecommunications equipment shares led the gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index remained almost flat. Japan's Nikkei rose around 3.3%. The Chinese Transport Authority says the overarching goal during the 15th five-year plan period is the complete construction of a modern transportation system. The Transport Ministry says one of the key focuses will be on advancing transportation infrastructure renewal and digital transformation. By 2030, the country aims to upgrade approximately 80,000 kilometers of transportation facilities and implement a new round of rural road improvement initiatives. 500,000 kilometers of rural roads will be newly built or renovated. Efforts will be made to enhance commuter efficiency within metropolitan circles and accelerate the development of 20 international and 80 national transportation hub cities. The multimodal transport capabilities of 1,000 major freight hubs will be upgraded within approximately 5 years. The ministry also says an AI plus transportation action plan will build smart, digitally enabled transport corridors. The plan involves using artificial intelligence to make roads, ports, and logistics systems more intelligent and efficient. Another priority is to accelerate the large-scale deployment of new energy heavy-duty trucks and to build zero-carbon freight corridors on roads and waterways. A wave of state-owned enterprises, listed companies, and major insurers have announced share buybacks, stake increases, and dividend payouts over the past 2 days, signaling strong confidence in China's capital markets. 4 of the country's largest insurers, including China Pacific Insurance and PICC, have issued rare coordinated statements voicing firm support for the capital market. The statements came alongside a fresh round of buyback and stake increase initiatives from major central SOEs. China Aluminum led the way with a share purchase plan valued at up to 2 billion yuan, and that's roughly $295 million US. Neri Technology announced a repurchase program ranging from 500 million to 1 billion yuan. Citigroup has raised its rating on Chinese stocks to overweight from neutral, signaling greater confidence in Chinese assets for the second half of the year. Citi analysts say China's equity market is well positioned to gain from a favorable global backdrop and a recovery in corporate profits. According to the group's research note, investment opportunities in emerging markets are undergoing structural changes. Citi sees more room for upside if geopolitical risks subside, global liquidity improves, and macroeconomic conditions stay supportive. The bank also forecasts strong earnings growth for MSCI emerging markets index companies this year, with China expected to be among the best performers. Artificial intelligence is reshaping China's labor market. The Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security recently unveiled 12 new occupations. Several of them are directly tied to AI and emerging industries, including embodied intelligence robot technicians and sports data analysts. These additions build on more than 20 AI-related roles among the 72 new occupations introduced during the previous five-year plan period that started in 2021. The ministry estimates that each new occupation could generate 300,000 to 500,000 jobs in the early stages. For more, Lily Liu spoke with Zhou Mi, a senior research fellow at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation.
Let's start with how AI is impacting the job market. The scores of new AI-related job titles are officially recognized. Industries are actually undergoing rapid transformations as well. So under such circumstances, how can we update vocational standard and also skill training systems to ensure that workers are properly equipped to keep up with the fast pace of AI development?
Well, it is a very important question. How can we just keep the skill systems together with the development of the AI itself? I think that if we are trying to talk about that topic, we need to look at the facts, whether the AI is connected with the manufacturing or some kind of other services industries. If they are spreading, I think that we are trying to welcome that the companies, no matter from the big company and also the small companies, together to discuss about the possible standards and the skills that is needed for these new occupations. And I think that the second is also important. We should try to treat the development as an ecosystem. It's not just on specific occupation. We should try to combine the different kind of occupations and trying to think that in the AI economy's ways. So we have to try to also include some of these standards to do with the new energy, green development. And I mean, in such kind of system, we need to have a better requirement on the standards, and that is also required to be abided by the enterprises and also the organizations.
China has the world's largest comprehensive transport network. So which are the main real-world applications of AI in the transportation sector? And in what ways is AI being used to help to upgrade and modernize transport infrastructure across China?
Well, transportation is not just about the physical items. It is really about the information. So there are so many informations, and we have a better and better demand on the speed of this information gathering and the dealing. So the AI is able to be used in this, to identify the possible barriers and what kind of the things to follow the trend or track the logistics. I think that transportation can be improved by better allocate all the related stakeholders and also the hardwares. And second is that we are trying to use AI to support the public infrastructure together with some of the private infrastructure. I think that's a combination of the different demands is really important to support the better efficiencies on the transportations. And we are also trying to introduce more abilities about the different kinds of transportations to improve the total efficiency of the transportations and the logistics.
That was Senior Research Fellow Zhou Mi talking about how AI is reshaping the job market and driving new employment opportunities. China has delivered the world's largest self-unloading ship at nearly 42,000 deadweight metric tons. The vessel is over 200 meters long and has a cargo capacity of 29,000 cubic meters. It's also the world's fastest self-unloading ship. The ship is heading to West Africa to support the Simandou iron ore project in Guinea. It's a key project in economic and trade cooperation between China and Guinea and a significant achievement of the Belt and Road Initiative. Renewable energy is becoming the preferred power source for many nations, but its unpredictability makes adoption difficult. An Austrian-based startup hopes to change this with the use of artificial intelligence. Johannes Pleschberger has more from Vienna.
Too little wind for turbines, a cloud blocking the sun. Every change in the weather affects the amount of electricity flowing through power lines, and even small fluctuations can destabilize power networks. Clemens Wassner believes AI can help prevent that. His startup uses reinforcement learning to stabilize power grids. The system can react faster and evaluate more options than operators switching the grid manually.
In case a blackout might happen, our solution can go 60% longer than, let's say, normal manual switching.
The AI agent can predict overloads and suggests the fastest way to restore balance.
This part of the grid is overloaded. So it is telling you if you switch these 3 stations, the overload here and here will vanish. So it's a little bit like traffic routing.
Just like roads, power lines form an interconnected network, allowing electricity to be rerouted from overloaded lines to those with spare capacity, either through manual switching or with the help of AI. Grid switching is now part of everyday operations. Most electricity networks were built decades ago for steady supplies from fossil fuels and nuclear power. Today's mix of wind and solar makes balancing the grid far more challenging.
East of Vienna, there's often so much wind and solar power that not all of it can be used. Some of it has to be switched off or stored in batteries to keep the grid stable. At the same time, other parts of the country aren't generating enough electricity, creating bottlenecks in the network. AI can solve both problems, predicting supply and demand in real time, directing power where it's needed most, and keeping the grid balanced.
I spent 10 years in Asia, a long time also in Beijing and China, and I saw how AI is picking up in China. So when I returned to Austria in 2016, the idea was to create a company that is applying and rolling out AI to real-world use cases.
So far, the company has worked with power grid operators in France and the Netherlands. Clemens hopes more countries will embrace his AI solution to strengthen the resilience of their electricity networks.
That was Johannes Pleschberger reporting. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. And coming up in sports, Spain's World Cup teams received a hero's welcome on home soil.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
46 past now and turning to sports. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. Spain's World Cup champions received the hero's welcome on Monday as an estimated 2 million fans lined the streets of Madrid to celebrate the national team's second world title. Players rode through the Spanish capital on open-top buses before joining thousands more supporters for a ceremony at Cibeles Square. Earlier, King Felipe VI and Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez welcomed the squad at Moncloa Palace before beginning the victory parade. Head coach Luis de la Fuente thanked his players, staff and supporters, saying the triumph was built on unity.
It is an honor for me to coach them, as it is to share this moment with our staff and all of those who work to benefit the team. I forgot to say something that I said 2 years ago. We're stronger together. Long live Spain. Thank you.
Prime Minister Sanchez praised the team's achievements and expressed hope that Spain can lift a third World Cup when the country co-hosts the Centennial Tournament in 2030.
But even those of us who are not football experts have greatly enjoyed watching you play. Secondly, I thank you for your effort, because it is true that even when you are good, reaching nothing less than a World Cup final is no easy task. And finally, proving right what Luis Aragonés used to say, finals are not played, they're won. You have now won 2 out of 2, so why not in 2030? Why not dream that there won't just be 2, but 3, especially with Spain co-hosting the World Cup in 2030?
The celebrations marked a memorable chapter in Spanish football history. As the focus now shifts toward the 2030 tournament on home soil, Spain will look to build on the success of its latest generation of players. FIFA has appointed a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor to investigate the post-match brawl that broke out after Spain's World Cup final victory over Argentina. Tensions flared following Spain's 1-0 extra-time win on Sunday, which secured the country's second World Cup title. Argentina had already been reduced to 10 players late in normal time after midfielder Enzo Fernandez was sent off for a second yellow card. After the final whistle, Argentine midfielder Leandro Paredes became involved in a confrontation with several Spanish players, including Eric Garcia and Gavi, sparking a mass altercation between the two teams. Players exchanged shoves before they were separated, with Argentina head coach Lionel Scaloni stepping in to help restore order. FIFA has not said when it will finish the investigation. Belgium coach Rudy Garcia will leave his post at the end of this month after agreeing with the country's football association not to extend his contract. Garcia guided the Red Devils to the World Cup quarter-finals, where eventual champions Spain defeated them, but his position was under pressure following an inconsistent campaign. Belgium drew with Egypt and Iran in the group stage before securing a place in knockout rounds with a big win over New Zealand. Belgium later produced a dramatic comeback against Senegal in the round of 32 and beat the United States 4-1. However, doubts returned after the loss to Spain, with his decision to substitute goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois in the second half becoming a major talking point. The Belgian Federation thanked the 62-year-old Frenchman for his 18 months in charge, while Garcia said he was proud to have helped guide the team through a generational transition. The football world is mourning the loss of former England captain and manager Kevin Keegan, who died at the age of 75. Keegan's family and former club Newcastle United confirmed earlier this year that he had been receiving cancer treatment, and the two-time European Footballer of the Year later revealed his illness had progressed to stage 4. Known as Keen Kev and Mighty Mouse, Keegan enjoyed a decorated playing career. He made his name at Liverpool, where he scored 100 goals in 323 appearances, before also playing for clubs including Hamburg, Southampton and Newcastle. He earned 63 caps for England, scoring 21 goals, and captaining the team in 31 times. After retiring as a player, Keegan moved into management, leading Newcastle back into the Premier League before later taking charge of England. Newcastle fans have paid tribute to the football icon, remembering the impact he made on and off the pitch.
He's just given me the best years of my life at this football club. So as a player, as a man, and as I was saying, the story when he first signed, came to my club, won the Ballon d'Or twice and he came to my club.
Keegan's legacy as one of England's most beloved football figures will live on through generations of fans. And finally, China is set to host this week's Women's Volleyball Nations League finals in Macau. After 3 weeks of preliminary round action, the Chinese team has completed training in Jiangmen and arrived in Macau for the final stage. The 8 teams competing for the title include Brazil, Turkey, Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, Italy, and the United States. Head coach Zhao Yun says his young squad is fully prepared and hopes the players can bring their training results into the matches. China will look to make the most of home court advantage as the finals get underway in Macau.
All right, thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, a Chinese animated feature is set for a wider international release.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
52 past now, turning to culture and entertainment. A Chinese animated feature, All Wishes Come True, is set for a wide international release following its strong box office debut at home. Film is based on the classic tale of the 8 immortals crossing the sea, in which the legendary figures each use their unique abilities and treasures to cross the sea. Rather than focusing on the immortals after they became legendary figures, All Wishes Come True tells the story of their ordinary lives before attaining immortality. The film will open in Australia, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea on August 13th, before arriving a day later in the United States, Canada, Britain, Ireland, and the Netherlands. It'll then reach Belgium and Luxembourg on September the 4th. 24th, with release dates for Singapore, Malaysia, and Southeast Asian markets to be announced. The comedy animation has had an impressive start in China, surpassing 200 million yuan, or nearly $30 million during its opening weekend. It also earned an 8.3 out of 10 rating on the review platform Douban, making it the highest-rated new release of this year's summer movie season. Shanghai is hosting an exhibition featuring over 100 imperial embroidery costumes from Beijing's Palace Museum. Tang Xiaofan reports.
Behold this rare dragon robe fabric woven with peacock feathers in the Qing dynasty. Scholars believe it was made based on descriptions of a peacock feather garment from the 18th century Chinese novel Dream of the Red Chamber. Only 2 complete examples are known to survive in the Palace Museum's collection.
If you look closely at this fabric, you'll notice it incorporates 3 types of thread. First, there are multicolored silk threads. Second, golden threads used for the golden dragon motifs. And third, a very special peacock feather thread, made by twisting peacock feathers around silk strands. Using peacock feather thread in embroidery isn't rare, but what makes this piece exceptional is that the entire garment is covered in peacock feather thread.
The robe is one of the highlights of imperial colors, an exhibition of Qing Dynasty clothing from Beijing's Palace Museum and the World Expo Museum. It features over 100 items including embroidered robes, woven textiles, boots, ornaments, and ceremonial accessories once used by members of the Qing Imperial Court. Upon entering the hall, visitors are met by 4 court robes in striking hues, positioned at the 4 cardinal points, east, south, west, and north. Each belonged to a different Qing emperor, Kangxi, Qianlong, Jiaqing, and Tongzhi. Each was worn on a specific occasion.
Each of the emperor's ritual robes is one of a kind. They were donned for the 4 most important seasonal ceremonies throughout the year. So this exhibition is not merely about color. It is a synthesis of space and time.
The exhibition is divided into 6 sections. It illustrates color codes, ritual implications, and dynastic aesthetic standards of imperial attire, worn for sacrificial ceremonies, state affairs, festivals, and even leisurely occasions. Nearly 90% of the items are being exhibited outside Beijing for the first time, while more than 30% have never previously been displayed to the public.
That was Tang Xiaofan reporting. A summer art festival showcasing Dunhuang's ancient culture and Silk Road heritage has opened in the northwest Chinese city. The 3-month event, running through October 15th, aims to promote the city's cultural and tourism resources and create a signature summer attraction. The opening ceremony featured colorful light displays and art installations, drawing large crowds, including many international visitors. Organizers say the festival will offer a series of activities, including dance performances, Hanfu fashion shows, and summer bazaars to enhance the city's nighttime cultural experiences. Located along the ancient Silk Road, Dunhuang in Gansu province was once a key trading hub connecting China with the outside world more than 2,000 years ago. The city is home to the world-renowned Mogao Grottos, which preserve thousands of ancient scriptures and murals dating back centuries. We're at 57 past the hour. Checking the forecast before we go for the day. Beijing's getting thunder showers overnight, and they continue through tomorrow. Low of 24, it's up to 30 on Wednesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall through tomorrow, a low of 27 and a high of 34. Chongqing's getting clear skies overnight. Sunshine tomorrow, a low of 28. The high is up to 40. Nanchang will see thunder showers through tomorrow with a low of 25 and a high of 33. Laos is getting a light rainfall this evening, easing to showers tomorrow, low of 12 and a high of 23. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see moderate rainfall tonight, easing to light tomorrow, a low of 23 and a high of 28 for Wednesday. Vientiane will have a light rainfall tonight, becoming heavy rain tomorrow, low of 24 and the high is 30. Phnom Penh is getting a light rainfall through tomorrow with a low of 24 and a high of 35. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, the Chinese foreign minister is in Manila as the annual meeting of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations get underway. The new British Prime Minister has unveiled his new cabinet and is promising the biggest changes in the past 40 years. On behalf of the staff, Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
The best military commander is not he who fights 100 battles and wins every one of them. The best military strategy does not lead to the desiccation of the enemy's capital city. Decoding the Art of War will help you understand why there's no art in war and how Sun Tzu stayed undefeatable using the science of war, with fun stories and insightful breakdown of famous battles. Find Decoding the Art of War wherever you listen.
A poem for the Tibetan antelope, the gentle spirit of the Qinghai Seazong Plateau, spoken by voices from across the world. Every spring, female antelopes migrate hundreds of miles to Zhuonai Lake to give birth, as we build gentle passages for their journey.
Hello, little Tibetan antelope. Eyes opening to the light for the very first time.
To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower.
So much wonder calls for so much courage. But have no fear. The way home is right there, waiting for you.
From the snows of Kowloon to the winds of Tangula, the wilderness will teach me to be strong.
But the call of life itself never ceases.
A train runs toward the horizon. A road stretches through the wilderness.
The bridge that soars through the clouds is no barrier across the land, but a gateway to where I truly belong.
Tibetan antelope's hoofprints loosen the soil, letting snow melt sink into the earth.
Human presence passes through,
but we've never walked this land alone.